Voice-over Saudi Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman appears to be deeply alarmed after Iran's first missile and drone attack on the United Arab Emirates since the ceasefire. Saudi officials seem to be worrying that Iranian anger could soon be directed at their own territory and oil infrastructure, as President Donald Trump's risky Hormuz mission appears to be backfiring across the Gulf. Iranian missiles and drones struck the UAE on the very first day of the US Navy's new Project Freedom operation in the Strait of Hormuz, hitting targets on Emirati soil even as US forces escorted shipping through the waterway. Tehran has explicitly linked these fresh attacks to Trump's latest attempt to reopen and control traffic in the Strait of Hormuz, framing its strikes as a direct response to what it calls American aggression at sea. Critics say Trump's effort to guide commercial ships through the strait under US protection could cause the war to restart in full force, dragging Washington's Arab allies back into the line of fire. Saudi Arabia on May 4 issued a formal reaction to the Iranian attacks on the UAE's Fujairah region and nearby US warships, signaling growing alarm in Riyadh over the latest escalation. Riyadh condemned what it described as the first Iranian strike on Gulf countries since the ceasefire came into effect, warning that such actions threaten the entire region's stability. The Iranian attacks took place on the very day that the United States began guiding commercial cargo ships through the Strait of Hormuz under a new naval protection mission. The UAE's defense ministry said its air defenses had engaged a total of 15 incoming Iranian missiles and 4 drones on May 4, intercepting many of them before impact. One of the drone strikes caused a fire at a key oil facility in the Emirate of Fujairah, injuring 3 Indian workers who were present at the site when the blast occurred. In a separate statement, the UK military reported that fires had broken out on board 2 cargo ships off the UAE's coast, believed to be linked to the same wave of attacks. Iranian officials described the strike on Fujairah as a direct consequence of what they called US adventurism, blaming Washington's new naval moves for provoking the confrontation. Sources speaking to Iran's state broadcaster IIB said the attack was the product of US adventurism for illegal passage of ships, accusing America of trying to force its way through Hormuz. Iran's navy also confirmed that it had fired both missiles and drones at US warships that were approaching the Strait of Hormuz as part of the new American escort operation. Saudi Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman held a phone call with the UAE's president after the attacks, in which the two leaders discussed the situation and coordinated their response to Iran's actions. Riyadh's official statement said, "The Ministry of Foreign Affairs expresses the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia's condemnation and strongest denunciation of the Iranian targeting, via missiles and drones, of civilian and economic facilities in the sisterly United Arab Emirates state and of a tanker affiliated with an Emirati company." His Royal Highness Crown Prince conducted a phone call with the President of the United Arab Emirates during which he expressed the kingdom's condemnation and strong denunciation of the unjustified Iranian attacks that targeted the sisterly United Arab Emirates, and affirmed the kingdom stand alongside the UAE in defending its security and stability. Escalation is spreading across the Gulf region, with Iran issuing strong and direct warnings to its regional adversaries amid rapidly rising tensions. Tehran has made it clear it will retaliate against the United Arab Emirates if it takes any action Iran considers unwise or provocative. According to Tasnim news agency, Iran warned that if the UAE becomes what it called a plaything of Israel, it will directly target Emirati interests. An Iranian military source said, and I quote, "No official threat has so far been announced by the Emiratis. But if the Emiratis become a plaything of Israel and make a wrong move, they will learn a lesson they will never forget. If the UAE takes any unwise action, all its interests will become targets for Iran, and no part of Emirati facilities will be safe. The UAE knows it is sitting in a very fragile glass house, and insecurity is absolute poison for it. If it wants to repeat the mistake of the 40-day war, we will completely abandon restraint and treat this Zionist nest as part of the Zionist regime." Unquote. Tehran has framed the Fujairah incident as a retaliatory move, blaming what it describes as ongoing US adventurism in the region. Iranian state media claims the Fujairah strike was not a pre-planned operation, insisting it was a reaction triggered by US actions. Officials in Tehran say the incident resulted from US actions allegedly aimed at creating a passage for what they call illegal transit of ships. These warnings come after strikes linked to Iran hit Emirati territory, intensifying fears that the conflict could widen across the region. An alleged Iranian drone attack triggered a major fire at a petrol complex in Fujairah, raising alarm over critical infrastructure security. The UAE has claimed that Iran launched 4 cruise missiles toward its territory, although Tehran has neither confirmed nor acknowledged the claim. According to Channel 12, a UAE official conveyed to Israel that the country does not intend to remain silent in response to these attacks. Both the UAE and South Korea reported strikes on ships passing through the crucial Strait of Hormuz on May 4th, adding to concerns over maritime security. Emirati leadership has strongly condemned the attacks on civilian areas and signaled that it is prepared to respond if necessary, raising the stakes in an already volatile regional situation. This development highlights a rapidly hardening alignment among Gulf states and Israel, as regional powers appear increasingly united in their stance against Iran's actions. Qatar's emir has also joined the growing wave of condemnation, denouncing Iranian actions and urging all parties to exercise restraint and move immediately toward de-escalation. The Gulf Cooperation Council has likewise condemned Iran's behavior, calling it irresponsible and dangerous, and warning that it poses a serious threat to regional security and stability. Jassim Mohammed al-Budaiwi said, and I quote, "Strikes represent a flagrant violation of the sovereignty of a member state of the Cooperation Council. Targeting the United Arab Emirates is unacceptable and condemned by all standards, and reflects an escalatory approach that disregards the rules of international law and the principles of good neighborliness. We call on the international community to assume its responsibilities to stop these repeated Iranian attacks and to put an immediate end to the irresponsible actions that undermine regional and international peace and security." Unquote. EU Commission President Ursula von der Leyen has condemned Iran's reported missile and drone attacks targeting the United Arab Emirates, posting her response on the platform X and calling for restraint and de-escalation. Meanwhile, US President Donald Trump stopped short of labeling the incident a direct violation of the ceasefire, according to reports. Trump also warned Iran that the best outcome for all sides would be maintaining the ceasefire and preventing further escalation in the region. The United Arab Emirates, a key US partner in the region, has strongly criticized Iran over an alleged attack on one of its crude oil tankers. Abu Dhabi claimed that a state-linked oil vessel was targeted by Iranian drones while navigating through the Strait of Hormuz. The tanker, reportedly operated by ADNOC, was said to be empty at the time of the incident on May 3rd. According to the UAE Foreign Ministry, 2 Iranian drones were involved in the strike as the vessel transited the strategic waterway. The UAE has also called for the complete and unconditional reopening of the Strait of Hormuz to ensure uninterrupted maritime movement. Officials in Abu Dhabi accused Iran's naval forces of engaging in coercive tactics and described the actions as a form of maritime piracy. Donald Trump has announced the launch of Project Freedom, a UN-led initiative aimed at helping dozens of merchant ships stranded in and around the Strait of Hormuz, starting from May 4th. Trump described the operation as a humanitarian gesture intended to assist neutral country vessels and their crews caught in the war zone, many of which are running low on supplies while waiting for safe passage. However, US officials later clarified to outlets such as the Wall Street Journal that Project Freedom would not involve direct naval escorts in the way his initial remarks implied. Instead, the White House outlined the creation of a maritime coordination cell that will identify and share safe routes through the strait, clear of mines and high-risk areas, while coordinating with commercial shipping lines and allied navies. This signals a more limited, advisory role for the US military than the image of warships physically shepherding tankers through the choke point that Trump's announcement initially suggested. Donald Trump said, and I quote, "For the good of Iran, the Middle East, and the United States, we have told these countries that we will guide their ships safely out of these restricted waterways, so that they can freely and ably get on with their business. Many of these ships are running low on food, and everything else necessary for large-scale crews to stay on board in a healthy and sanitary manner." Unquote. US Central Command, CENTCOM, has confirmed that its forces will begin supporting Project Freedom from May 4th, integrating the initiative into its broader regional maritime security posture. CENTCOM has framed the mission as critical for both regional security and global economic stability, given that the Strait of Hormuz normally carries roughly 1/5 of the world's seaborne oil and LNG traffic. The command says more than 100 land and sea-based aircraft, including maritime patrol planes, fighters, and surveillance platforms, will provide surveillance, protection, and rapid response capabilities along the agreed safe corridors. Multi-domain unmanned systems, such as drones and unmanned surface vessels, will also be deployed to monitor mine-like threats, detect suspicious boats, and enhance maritime domain awareness without fully committing large warships. Around 15,000 US service members across the Persian Gulf and Gulf of Oman are expected to contribute to Project Freedom, mainly in support, logistics, and intelligence roles, underscoring the scale of the operation even if direct combat is being avoided.